All right, I'm going to talk about performance-enhancing drugs. These are problems in sports, and they're changing the dynamic of things. And for some reason, there's people out there that think they're okay. Performance-enhancing drugs come in different forms. There's doping, there's steroids themselves, and then there's the thing called HGH. These are changing the game because it's making people perform above their normal athletic abilities. It's in this speech I want to talk to you about some of the major athletes that brought attention to this, the side effects, and how it's changing the game. And the point that people think they're going to change, that it's better, is that it's going to put the athletes at the top of their game. It's going to make it more entertaining, and that the athletes that are working their entire lives should have a chance to be the best. And this, I think this is wrong because it's putting their health in risk, and it changes the game. Some major athletes that brought this to attention was Lance Armstrong. He blood doped, which is when you go to a high altitude and you train really hard. You get a lot of oxygen in your blood, and then you take it out and freeze it. And then before a competition, you put it back in your body, and then your body has a lot of oxygen level, and you perform better. This is dangerous because when you're adding this much blood to your body, that's different than what you have. It has a high chance of clots, and it's a very dangerous part of your body. He got caught because people from his team and other people he worked with admitted to doing this, and when they did it, they said my whole team did it. So they started investigating him, and they really couldn't find any proof that he did it until he went out and kind of broke and went on Oprah Winfrey during an interview and said that I did it, and this cost him to get stripped of multiple Tour de France wins, and he lost that top spot. Because before that, everybody thought that he was the guy that was winning, even though he wasn't cheating. Because cheating in cycling is a big problem. And when he did that, he lost a lot of money, lost a lot of sponsors, and he had to kind of rebound. Another one is Alex Rodriguez. He was a baseball player during the 2000s up to 2014 who played for the Rangers and for the Yankees. And he got caught because in 2012, he was investigated and failed a steroid test. And during this thing, he served a 1-year suspension from the game and was fined. He said that he was using steroids for majority of his career, and it kind of took away that he was one of the best players in the league in his beginning of his career. And when it came up for him to go into the Hall of Fame, he was denied. So he's going to have to keep going until they let him in. But this whole steroid thing, since he wasn't caught when he was in his prime, we don't know if he was actually that good or if he was just using things that were making him better than everybody else. And then the third one was Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds played from 1992 to 2005. And in the beginning of his career, he came to the league and he was known as a big hitter. He had a lot of home runs. He struck out a lot, but that's how he was. And for the first 8 years of his career, he never elapsed 50 home runs. And then he had a streak where he never elapsed 45. And then he had a season where he hit 93. This caused investigation. They never actually found him guilty of using steroids, but it's such an outlier that it's pretty much decided that he did it because no one's ever had that big of a jump in home runs where it almost doubled. This, even though he's never found guilty, he's been up for the Hall of Fame 2 times now and have been denied both times. So his legacy is tarnished because of something that he did, but it wasn't proven, but it's pretty much decided. All right. The changes in the dynamics in sports. People are starting to use steroids as a crutch and less skill. Because they're thinking, why should I go work hard every day of the week and be the best player I can be when I can just use steroids and be as good as anybody else? This changes it because it's making players lazy, and the people who aren't willing to go through the side effects of steroids that are not using them are put at a huge disadvantage because they don't have the physical abilities of someone who's using steroids. Let's say baseball, for instance, the people who are using steroids, it's going to change the game. Because right now, baseball is a very competitive game, a defense, offense. If you built your team the right way and have good players, you're going to do good. But if there's a team that wants to of a full team that wants to use steroids compared to a team where only a couple of them do, that team is going to dominate every time, and it's going to turn the game into a home run derby, which people think are interesting until they figure out that it's so one-sided that the sport's going to lose views, it's going to lose money, and it's completely going to change it. Again, with cycling, there's going to be people out there that don't want to cheat. So they're going to work really hard, and they're still not going to be good enough to beat the guys who are doing HGH and blood doping and steroids. And it's changing the way people view the sport, and it's going to be less entertaining. If you know that everybody out there is taking steroids, and it also changes because not everybody can afford steroids. New players into sports, though, you're just getting into sports, can't afford steroids. Like a player who's been there for 10 years and has money, that puts them at a disadvantage. So they're not going to develop players to make the game last longer and make it more interesting. The effects on the body is, of course, word rage. You've all heard of it. It changes your anger and it gives you that hair trigger where you can just go off. For guys, long period of time of steroid use will give you erectile dysfunction. It's one of the major things. Your PP will not work anymore. Another problem is that people who use steroids are suffering from depression, and it's becoming a problem because now we're seeing people who use steroids in the past and have problems with sports commit suicide. It also affects women too. Steroid use for women causes facial hair to grow, back hair, stomach hair. It also will cause your breast to quit growing or to shrink. So it's changing the physical abilities, and psychologically it breaks down the brain to where Alzheimer's and all these other memory loss things are more of a problem. And you're getting that hair trigger where you can get upset out of nowhere, be very upset. So in conclusion, we talked about the major people who brought attention to steroids, the counterclaim for it, or why would they think we should, the dynamics of the game that are changing, and the effects on the body. Thank you.